On April 14th of 2014, more than 270 schoolgirls were kidnapped as they were studying for their final exams in northern Nigeria. Most of those girls have yet to be rescued. A few of them actually managed to escape. A few weeks after the kidnapping, the anti-human trafficking organization that I run, Unlikely Heroes, was asked to bring a team of counselors to Nigeria to provide counseling, medical care, grief, trauma services, and everything that the escaped girls and many of the mothers who were still awaiting the return of their children would need so that they could move forward after this tragedy. I arrived in Nigeria and I began counseling the mothers and the escaped girls. And I will never forget my very first counseling session with one of the girls who had been so fortunate to escape. I'm going to call her Precious to conceal her identity. Precious is only 15 years old, and she started the story with me where many victims of trauma do, at the place that they had just been at most peace. She said that she had been in the school and they had just gone to sleep when they heard gunshots. Many of the girls started yelling, "The Boko Haram are coming." And a few moments later, they saw many men dressed as soldiers show up at the school. So many of the girls actually thought that these were soldiers who had come to rescue them. They told them to get all of their things together, but the girls did not have time to get dressed. So most of them were pulled out into the schoolyard with just their underwear on, no shoes. The militants then began to shoot bullets into the sky, and they told the girls to get on the ground, and that's when they realized that these were not soldiers who had come to help them. The militants then began to scream, "We told you not to go to school, and we have come here to enforce this order." These poor girls were kidnapped for one reason, because these were the girls who were bold enough and who were brave enough to try to get an education. They knew that they were risking their lives in that part of northern Nigeria by even trying to sit for their final exams. The militants then began to burn the schoolhouse down and then forced the girls to walk several kilometers without any clothes, many without shoes, to trucks where they loaded them up for a few days' drive into the Sambisa forest. A couple of the girls, about 10 to 15, fell off of trucks on the way there, but only about 6 managed to escape the prison camp at all. The girls who escaped, Precious told me her story, and she told me that when she got to the camp that they saw guns everywhere and that she waited all night long until the morning when she felt that would be her safest bet to try to run through the forest home. She told her captors that she had to go to the bathroom. She waited until no one was looking. She grabbed another girl to come with her, and they began the run for more than 3 days through the Sambisa forest to make it to safety. The girls had no shoes. By the time they actually made it out of the forest, they were covered in thorns up to their knees. It took them hours to take steaming, boiling water to pull those thorns out of their legs one by one. One of the girls said she couldn't walk for 3 days afterwards. Her mother had to carry her. But I'm going to tell you something. As frightening as it was for those 15-year-old girls to run out of the Sambisa forest, the forest that they call is filled with beasts. They know that they're the fortunate ones. When I arrived in Nigeria, it was actually the height of the Bring Back Our Girls campaign. The world was shouting that we would not stand or tolerate the kidnapping of more than 270 girls, and we were demanding action from governments and from presidents worldwide. Celebrities got involved. Globally, we used our voices, we used our platforms, we used our social media to raise up a shout and to say, "Bring the girls home." Government sent troops, people got involved, but soon the hashtag started to wane. Soon we stopped using our Instagrams and our Facebook and our Twitter. And what we noticed on the ground is that as soon as the collective voice of us, of you and of me and of every student and every celebrity cheering out and crying, saying we need to see the return of these girls, as soon as that waned, the hope of the girls being rescued vanished along with the hashtag. When I returned to Los Angeles and I began to talk to people and I let them know of the effect that their cries on social media had had in applying direct pressure on the ground to see the girls returned, people were shocked. They had no idea that this cry that they had let erupt from them to demand the return of the girls was actually making a difference on the ground. It was giving the families hope. It was giving Nigeria hope. It was giving people an actual voice of resistance to say, we will not let this happen. But somehow, we didn't know the effect that we were having. And I believe that that's why we began to let our voice go on this situation. Unfortunately, those girls who are still trapped in the forest, more than 250 of them yet to be rescued, just spent Christmas and the holidays alone with no mother to give them a hug. This tragedy has affected not just the girls, not just the mothers and fathers, but the communities, the nation of Nigeria, and the world. So what I want to bring to us today is a challenge, that we would start to see the power of our voice with social media, that we would start to understand that we, us, who have been so privileged to be born in a free society, that we have been given so much freedom and so much power with this voice that we would have, and that we would start to awaken to the power of this voice. But along with any freedom, any power, it comes with responsibility. And we have to learn that freedom of speech is a powerful thing and that not all change is good. We have to start to understand that when we use our voice and we start to aim it at social injustices worldwide, that we can make a difference. But we also have to understand that my right to free speech ends the moment that I yell fire in a crowded movie theater. I feel like it's really important that we start to see social media as a new thing that we can access as a way to raise up the collective voice of the people to say we want to see injustices end on this earth. Because governments can fail and policies can fail, but we, the people, cannot fail. And we have to start to mobilize our voice to see injustices ended worldwide. There are 27 million people trapped in slavery today. There are more slaves on the planet today than ever before in history. And these people who are trapped in slavery, these 250 girls who have yet to be rescued, they have no voice. They have no way to rescue themselves. And I believe that it's up to us, each and every one of us, to start to use our voice and to use our resources and to use our platforms on behalf of someone who has no voice. Because either you believe that freedom is for all, or you believe that freedom is only for some. And if you believe that freedom is only for some, then you end up with tyrannies. So I believe that as we move forward and we start to harness the power of social media and our free speech worldwide, that there's some keys that we need to grab a hold of so that the next time that we see a massive human rights injustice take place on this earth, and unfortunately there will be, that we will be ready to mobilize so that next time we don't see victims who are still waiting to be rescued. The first thing that I feel like we have to do is just use your voice. Raise your voice. When you act, you inspire other people. And when you start to use your voice, you're going to learn what works and what doesn't. Reach out, tweet your government officials, let people know what you're thinking about. Second of all, get educated. Mainstream media does not have all of the answers. Don't let your voice be hijacked by a 72-hour news cycle. Go out there, travel, learn, read the reports, go to the source of the information and find out what's the truth. And if you start finding out facts that are conflicting with your emotions, let the facts determine your response. Because we have to start to understand that the voice of the people is what, if we mobilize it properly, will actually bring long-term change. And number 3, don't stop. When you find an issue that you're passionate about, when you find out the truth, raise your voice and figure out how can we actually use this? How can we mobilize people to make sure that this never happens again? Keep going. Anything worth doing is worth doing well. Do I think that if we had kept going with our social media outcry that these girls would be home? I do think it's a possibility. But what I know is that in the future, if we learn how to harness the voice and turn these whispers into a roar and start demanding that we will not let human rights violations continue to happen on this earth, we will start to see injustices end. Thank you.